So you want to be part of an archaeology crew. Typical. The archaeology crew. Who's on that thing? Okay. The archaeology crew actually has a pretty specific organization to it that you'll see played out really wherever you find an archaeology project. At the top, the person in charge, the archaeologist number one, is the PI. That does not stand for private investigator. It stands for primary investigator. So the primary investigator is the head of the archaeology project. And the primary investigator is the person who's going to do all that stuff I told you in the other steps. They're the one who's going to write the grant proposals. They're the one who has the question, the research question, right? They're the one who applies for the money. They're the one who is ultimately going to get the members of the crew. So the primary investigator, and we always just call him the PI. Oh, who's the PI for your project, right? That is the person in charge. Now, second in command is the field director. And like it sounds, the field director watches over everything in the field. The field director is somebody who is working often just kind of right underneath the PI. And oftentimes they work together. They have a really relaxed relationship, and they talk about the project, and they sort of share their various grievances and figure out what will be best to move forward. This is often a very close relationship. The field director, it sounds weird when you think about it. Okay, the field director's in the field every day, I get it. Then what's the PI doing? Yeah, what is the PI doing? They're not necessarily in the field every day. What else could they be doing? Let's say your archaeology project is like 3 months long. What else could they do? Remember that money thing? Maybe they have to go meet with some donors. Maybe they have to go meet with like a National Geographic representative. Maybe they need to take some of these early finds and go to a conference. They're always out and about, the PIs. I'm not saying the PIs like never show up at the site or something, but there's a real reason why the field director's main job is to watch what's happening in the field and organize it day in, day out. And in terms of these first two big positions, the PI is always someone who already has PhD in hand. They have lots of experience in the area, and they're further on in their career. A field director is usually somebody. This could be somebody who's like a grad student, who's higher end, who's like working on their master's or finished their master's, working on their PhD. Right. This is usually in that echelon. A very knowledgeable, salty grad student would be kind of a field director position often. Then, so you have these two. And now there's kind of room for movement. Sometimes, depending on how many people you have in your crew, underneath you would put a lab director. This is somebody who's going to stay in the lab, somebody who's going to keep specific organization of the artifacts, right? They're going to stay back at the ranch, wherever that is, where the rest of the archaeology crew goes out and works. So you have those three. And then, way down on the graph. Oh, man. I can't see that far down. There's the crew. That's you. The crew members. Now, this can vary. Who are the crew members? Usually, there's students in the crew, like people who are undergraduate students, are interested in archaeology, like, yeah, I want to spend 2 weeks or a month in Belize working on an ancient Maya site. It's a fantastic experience, and it's great experience, necessary experience for a young archaeologist learning the ropes. Field schools are just supremely important. More on that later. But you have a large chunk of the crew, often being college students of some level, usually not like freshmen, but people who've been in college a couple years and they know what they want to do. They know they're anthro major, and they're going to work on this crew for the summer. On top of that, you would also see a decent number of local people, depending on wherever it is you work. Let's use the Belize example again. A typical police crew will have about half college students, and in those students, they can also be other people who are not college students. They're just really interested in archaeology. They just volunteer for the crew. That's fine. And then locals, and you absolutely want to hire local people on your archaeology project, because it's not just that they can help you with some of the excavation. They will see the snake before you do, right? They'll be like, hey, don't step on that. And you're like, thanks for saving my life. They will know other people in the local area, in the village, wherever it is you are. They can smooth your political transition into that world. So always hiring local people is of paramount importance. If you're just coming in as a bunch of outsiders, it's going to be a lot harder for you. So that's the crew. I would also add in, so we have, to sort of go over it again, PI, field director, lab director, crew, and then I do this little line across. I would do this little, like, every so often, you have what I would call specialists. Like maybe if you have a National Geographic grant, maybe National Geographic photographer shows up. Maybe a biologist shows up to deal with the plants on your site. Maybe a geologist shows up to deal with like the levels of soil at your site. Maybe an architect shows up to look at the pyramid and look at how it's constructed. I can go on and on. There's these cool specialists that'll kind of come by, usually for a short amount of time. They're usually there for like a week, 5 days or whatever, and they do their little kind of side project and they're gone. So taken together, this group, this rowdy group of swashbucklers, they form this very close relationship. The archaeology crew is a really great experience, especially for younger people to have that experience of working together, of dealing with people, even when you've heard every story they've ever told and you just know everything about them and you don't want to. But how to deal day to day in a professional, human manner with your fellow people on the archaeology crew. It's like you're in this little life raft in the middle of the jungle, and you better be nice to each other,